my wife's father. Because he filled my wife with so much shit in her backpack. So much shit over years. And I forgave him. The night before, or 2 nights before, is when, well, we remerged, and now I've got my hippie chick back.
This is the aftermath. Look at that. Someone's beautiful purge. So in the last few years, ayahuasca and plant medicine have become really popular and really controversial for treating physical and emotional ailments like cancer, addiction, chronic pain, anxiety, depression, stress, ADHD. I mean, the list goes on and on. And I think one of the big reasons why it's so controversial is because, one, many governments, including the American government, deem it as a Schedule I illegal substance. And as a result, it creates a stigma that if you're using ayahuasca, then you're abusing drugs, basically. But the fact of the matter is, there are so many reports, thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of people that have reported that they've healed themselves physically and emotionally. And so it's a really fine line right now in the world. And there are many people that are open to the alternatives because they've tried everything out there, including Western medicine, and nothing has helped them. And so ayahuasca presents that opportunity to heal emotionally and physically. So a few friends and I decided that we're going to take this trip out to Costa Rica. We're going to check Rythmia out because it's fast becoming one of the most popular destinations for plant medicine ceremonies. And I want to check out what they got going on. This is our guy.
Here we are in a different part of the world. What's up?
I'm with the homie right now. We just got here. We did our orientation.
We're feeling ready, man.
So you've done this before. What are you looking forward to this time around?
Well, the first time I was just hanging on and I got a lot of deep lessons. But this time, I think the difference is that I'm coming in with this resounding feeling of love and gratitude that I'm already here. And that was kind of missing last time, to be real. So I'm coming in with a lot more love, a lot more presence, a lot more gratitude this time. Yeah. And just stoked that I'm here with you, man. What are you feeling, man? What are you feeling about?
You know, I've had anxiety over the last couple of days. Yeah. That's what I want from this experience, is to understand how I could be a better space for love. You know, in my relationship as a father, as a confidant to Alan and many of the friends and people that I guide through transformational experiences. I mean, I know how important that is, so I'm looking forward to some insights on that.
Pretty amazing. I just got chills when you said that. Yeah, because you know the medicine's going to take you to wherever you get to go, wherever it wants you to go.
This facility was founded by a gentleman whose name is Jerry Powell.
I was brought up in an Irish, Italian, Catholic family. We were violent. And I'd like to think I was born a gentle little flower, But by the time I was in kindergarten, I was an animal. In my 30s, I took a company public, and I had $140 million net worth. But I started another company at 38 that I sold at 42. And I sold that company for about 90 million bucks, and it netted down to 61 million in cash equivalents. But during that time, I became a world-class asshole. I became a really, really, really bad guy. I was a drunk, like a full-on drug addict, and addicted to lots of different drugs. So many different drugs, it was crazy. One of them was injectable Demerol. So things got real bad, and my wife of 20 years decided that she had it with me. And my two sons, who I love, the only thing in my life that I have a feeling for, she took them and left our house. And that was like a really, really, really terrible, terrible time for me. And I was super, super, super sad. And in my house, I had an elevator, and on one whole floor was a bar. It was like a bar casino. And I was there alone, and I had done a bunch of cocaine, but I was trying to come down with Demerol. And so I was on a Chesterfield sofa, and I heard the ding of the elevator, but I couldn't put it together. And my sons walked in, and they saw the syringe in my arm. And that was no good for me. I made up my mind that the next day I was going to go to rehab.
Ultimately, that journey led him to finding plant medicine, and plant medicine helped change the trajectory of his life. And his story resonated very deeply with me because I am a product of receiving abuse in my life, and also inflicting abuse upon others and on myself. So this is probably a good time to talk about how I even got to Rythmia in the first place. And that story starts way back in 2007 when I was a nightclub promoter, event producer.
So y'all stay tuned, keep it locked, because we're going to be at the Sting later, put on by my man Jay Brown. It's going to be wild.
Everybody, Jay Brown, your boy, taking over the universe right now. It is chaos. We're over here at Stingery. Jamie Foxx, the Phoenix Suns, Rajay, 944, the whole crew is here. It is just nuts right now. They're not letting anybody in. And during that time, I got this vision to do an event that would be hosted by Beyonce. And at the time, I had no connections, no network of people that could help me get to Beyonce. But I used my resourcefulness and the guidance that I was receiving. And long story short, I ended up hiring Beyonce to host an event I produced. And when I produced that event, I met a gentleman whose name is Alan Floyd. And Alan has been supporting Beyonce and lifting her to the great heights that she's achieved in the world ever since the beginning of her career for the last 20 years. And you could imagine in that role, it's not the easiest role to play in the world because Beyonce puts out some really fantastic work. And to play at that caliber, it can often be very demanding for her and the people around her. So was the case for Alan. And that created a lot of stress for him, dealing with many people, dealing with the entertainment industry, which is not an easy industry to navigate in. And this has ultimately resulted in Alan experiencing emotional and physical ailments like many people are in this world. Then fast forward to 2017, where I began working with Facebook, and I really hadn't talked too much to Alan from that time in 2007 when I first met him. And so I called him up and I said, hey, I'm working with Facebook. Would love for you to come out to support and experience what I do now. I'm no longer a nightclub promoter and doing that stuff. And he obliged, and he came out. And ever since that time, we have been communicating more often. And in one of the conversations that we had, I shared with him about ayahuasca. And he says to me, Jay, you're the third person in the last week that has said something about ayahuasca. This must be a nudge from the universe. And so he asked me if I could facilitate in creating an experience. And so I said, absolutely. And I reached out to my friend, Josh Trent, and I didn't reach out to him to ask him about facilitating experience. I just was talking to him for something else that we were doing. But I mentioned to him about Alan and what I had been looking for. And lo and behold, Josh works with Rythmia to help bring influencers into the program. And so within days, we got the green light that we would have a space and be invited to be a part of the program. And so Alan and I booked our tickets, and boom, we're headed out to Rythmia.
Well, the main thing that I'm kind of like my job entails, right, is creating a super safe environment for all these people. Because like you said, people are guarded, right, and their heart is closed in the world because they have to survive. There's a lot of kind of adversity that people deal with daily, all different types of stuff. And to survive emotionally in that sort of rat race world, they guard themselves to just survive and get through stuff. So they show up like that. And we need to have safety here, not only just like physical safety of like the environment, but also more importantly, emotional safety. So for the staff, what I do is I train them all the time on how to create an environment that is non-judgmental, that is emotionally appropriate for them. They can kind of unwind a bit. They can lower their guard, because if they're not, if they're not vulnerable in a healthy manner, then this medicine doesn't really work as well, and the program doesn't work as well. It'll still work, but it's a little more difficult. So, I think that closed off vibe that people have is more about, feeling, if they feel vulnerable, they feel scared, and they're worried about being scared, of course, for lots of reasons. So for here, our intention as a staff is just keep this place totally safe for people to do the work they need to do.
So the abuse that was afflicted upon me in my life, and the abuse I inflicted upon others, and a very similar situation with Jerry and the abuse that he experienced. In this stage of my life, something I recognize is all too common. And I would purport that in this world, the majority of people are dealing with some level of trauma and unresolved emotion as a result of that trauma. And because we do not have a educational system around dealing with our emotional and mental well-being, many do not know how to process the pain and trauma and emotion that is a result of those traumatic experiences. And instead, many, like myself, had gone to, coping in a number of different ways. Drug abuse, alcohol abuse, sexual abuse, porn, social media nowadays. There's so many different ways people cope with the unresolved trauma and emotional stuff that they're holding. And I believe that because people don't have this education, then there's an internal chaos that ultimately results from that, which causes pain and suffering, and it creates an immense amount of stress for the individual. And when that internal chaos isn't dealt with, isn't treated, then it leads to things like we've all seen before: school shootings, bombings, and suicide, and sex trafficking, and all these different things that cause so much pain and suffering in the world. And that is a result of not having the awareness and education of how to deal with trauma, pain, and really big emotions. So this is why I believe Rythmia plays such an integral role in humanity right now, because it provides a safe and sustainable way for people to manage and treat their emotional and physical ailments.
I do a lot of cleansing like this, like ayahuasca ceremonies, and a lot of cleansing like this, because I have a very, very awful childhood. It's exactly similar with Jerry. So I got raped when I was young, 3 times. 1 time, 3 guys. Yeah. forgive them. I've been hurt myself so much, and I've been hurt others. I have many boyfriends and I hurt them, I break up with them because I don't know what happened inside of me. My father left me. I never see my father until I'm 17, and he come for half an hour and he said he's my father, and he left forever. My mother left me with my grandmother since I'm 2 years old. I almost got raped from my step-grandfather, but luckily not. But I got raped from the guy's neighbor. Now I'm working so hard. I'm entrepreneur. I own a resort in Thailand. But doesn't mean that I don't have a wound. So I encourage you guys to heal. It's beautiful to see everyone in a warrior heart to see your own soul and your own pain. Thank you so much.
One of the things that I really appreciate about Rythmia is that before we even had our first plant medicine ceremony, we sat in a couple classes, and these classes were designed or are designed to prepare us for the experience. Now, this was the second time that I've tried ayahuasca. The first time was here in Santa Cruz, where I'm at right now, in late 2017. I think it was October 2017. And although I got so much out of that experience, there was really no prep for it. So I'm glad I had an experience with ayahuasca before I came to Rythmia, because it helped me have a perspective that I didn't have, that I probably wouldn't have had if I didn't have that first ayahuasca experience. And when I did that first ayahuasca experience, one of the things that I noticed is the prep that I received for that, my first ayahuasca experience, was minuscule compared to the preparation that I received at Rythmia and what they offer there. So I think that's very important as part of the experience, because, you know, doing something for the first time and doing something as big as ayahuasca is in terms of the experience itself, it can be very jarring and it's incredibly challenging, and there's so many different things like hallucinations and visuals and purging in the form of vomiting and shitting and yawning and bloating and all these bodily functions that are happening as a result of taking the medicine. It's really important, I believe, to prepare for that. Like, you wouldn't send an astronaut into space without giving him the prep before, giving him or her the prep before sending that individual to space. And I believe our internal space, our consciousness, is the same. Like, we should prepare for that experience, because many of us haven't had the education or the awareness of how to explore our internal space.
So we're going to come back and talk about driving the medicine. And this is the more important part of the programming today, is the part that deals with driving the medicine, because it's really going to help you whether you've done 600 ceremonies or none. It's very much going to help you, okay?
Another day, another journey. Jay Brown.
Round 3.
I have no idea what's going on, and that's beautiful. This is like perfect training for life, actually. Plant medicine is life training. It's like training for all the stresses and uncertainty and craziness of the normal 3D world.
Now, one of the most compelling aspects of the Rythmia Way are the people that attend the program. Now, each week there are about 50 to 80 new people that experience the program or attend the program. And so you get to be around a really eclectic group of people. And one of the things that I've found that's so compelling about being in this environment with these people that Rythmia has attracted is that these are people who are seeking some answers to help them with things that they are dealing with in the world in regards to emotional and physical well-being. And most of them have tried everything under the sun to manage and treat what's going on for them. And because they weren't able to find it with what has been given to us as the traditional approaches to treating our emotional and physical ailments, then they have to open themselves up to new possibilities. And as a result of opening themselves up, they become open individuals. And that's what's really cool about the Rythmia Way in this experience, is because you're sitting with a group of people of all different ages and sizes and ethnicities who are open and willing to have conversations that you wouldn't otherwise have in the normal world. And that is such a beautiful thing, because when you can open yourself up and remove the mask and have really deep conversations and be vulnerable about what's going on in your life, that's when the breakthroughs happen. That's when you get to find out that you're not alone in the world. It's very unique and it's very powerful. And I really appreciate that Rythmia attracts such people. So I had quite a few takeaways from my experience at Rythmia, and I'm not going to go into depth with those experiences or those takeaways that I had, but there's something that I did want to share as a takeaway that I thought for me is incredibly profound. The insight was that ayahuasca is an incredible and powerful tool for reaching a state of consciousness. And as an individual, as a human being, it's a gateway and access to the highest version of yourself. And you get to experience how you are and what you're like when you're being the highest potential version of yourself, or the different forms that you can take on when you're being at your highest. So Rythmia is powerful because it's like a fucking portal to the highest version of yourself. So the cool thing is that ayahuasca, plant medicines and yoga and meditation and all these different tools help you to access higher states of consciousness. And when you're in those higher states of consciousness, you're able to connect to divine intelligence, or have the connection to God, universe, spirit, whatever you want to call that higher power. Like, I think we've all gotten there at some point, and it's described as being in flow a lot these days. And when we're in flow, we're connected to that divine intelligence, which the result of that is enhanced intuition, greater focus. Your physical capabilities are more on point. Everything is just that much better when you're able to maintain that state of being. But unfortunately, we don't have the education in the world that helps people understand how to reach those states of consciousness and how to maintain that connection to the universal divine intelligence, as it's called. And stress is one of the biggest factors that cause blocks. It doesn't allow people to reach higher states of consciousness, because when you're stressed out, what happens is stress is the body's natural response to bringing itself back into homeostasis, meaning you're out of balance, meaning your nervous system, immune system, digestive system, all the major systems of your body are out of alignment. And when you're out of alignment in that sense physiologically, it's hard for the brain centers to open up to the plethora of possibilities that exist to the creativity that we all have. So this insight came to me after facilitating a experience for a number of those that attended the Rythmia program. HeartMath has been around since 1991. They've been studying the heart and the heart's intelligence since that time. So the inner balance device helps us to understand when we get into that place of flow. People have called it before, centeredness, balance, whatever you want to call it. This is why it's called the inner balance, right? So this is her in just normal. And then when we started doing the breathing, you could see how the waves started getting bigger.
Candace, look at you.
And rounder. Just got a little bit of jaggy bit. That's dope. I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Wow.
What's incredible about it?
It's because every single little thought, every action has a repercussion, like the butterfly effect. So it's like you have to be extremely careful about where your attention's going, even how you're breathing. Like every single little thing makes a difference in the ripple effect of your life. And so intention and awareness are just such an integral part. I mean, I knew this being like a meditation teacher, but this tool is powerful for really getting our minds in check.
And it came to me because what the inner balance device that HeartMath offers can help an individual do is determine when they've actually reached higher states of consciousness or coherence, as HeartMath puts it and the scientific community puts it. Reaching that level of coherence isn't something that's easy to know you've gotten there and to determine. And so what HeartMath offers to the world is a device and the technology that helps an individual know without a doubt that they've actually reached that state. And especially for a novice individual, someone who isn't well versed or practiced in personal growth and transformation and spirituality, they need something to give the feedback to determine whether they've reached that state or gotten something out of the yoga or the meditation or whatever practice they're using. And this is what the inner balance technology does that HeartMath offers. And so this was a very powerful insight that I got from having this experience. And ultimately, what I know to be true now is that we as human beings have this capability to activate higher states of consciousness without ayahuasca, without yoga, without meditation, without all those things that are the tools. And in order to do that, it takes a certain level of skill, and that skill comes from practicing and also doing things like ayahuasca so that you can see that there's something greater than what is your current normal understanding of life. And when you have that ability to access that bigger possibility or the new possibilities, then you have something else to shoot for. But if you never had that experience before, how can you know that there's something to work toward? And that's the beauty of what Rythmia has to offer. It gives you an opportunity to see that there's something much bigger than what you're thinking in your mind or thinking that's possible in the world. But you have to have an experience to see how to get there. And, that's what really drives me in the world right now, is having a mastery that enables me to activate the higher states of consciousness just by having the focused awareness to do that and not need to go play basketball like I do now, or do the yoga, do the qigong, do the other practices that I have within my arsenal. That's what I'm shooting towards right now. And having an experience like this just gives me that path and that journey that I know I need to take.
That's the whole lesson, isn't it? For everybody to get out of their own way. So if I learn to get out of my own way, if anybody learns to get out of their own way, they can manifest I believe they can manifest what they're trying to manifest.
Yeah, whatever their desire.
Most of the time it's something, whether cognitively or uncognitively or unconsciously. That's what they're trying, that's why they're here.
And this is why I'm so stoked about Rythmia, because it gives you access to that part of yourself. And when you can activate that state of being, this is where enhanced intuition comes in. This is where peacefulness happens. This is where you can download the information from the divine intelligence that can guide you towards the things that you need to do to heal yourself if you're dealing with physical ailments or anything emotionally. Like, you don't have to go to YouTube and Dr. Oz and the Medical Medium and all these different places that are outside of yourself. The answers actually exist within you. And you've probably heard that before, but how do you actually access that information is the thing that I'm looking for, and I know many people are looking for. Rythmia gives us an opportunity to have that experience of the highest version of ourselves. And when we do, now the game is to work back towards getting to that space, into that state of being on a regular basis, and figuring out what are the things that activate that for me. I'm just super amazed by what I experienced at Rythmia and how it impacted the people around me that also were part of the experience. It was beautiful, you know, and I'm excited to go back. I'm excited to bring back friends and family members and those that I know are looking for a solution themselves to treating their emotional and physical ailments. I absolutely had one of the best weeks of my life, and I'm still reaping the benefits of that. And again, I'll share more on my YouTube channel with, you know, some of the insights that I gained and the takeaways from the experience that I had. So here's something that I want to leave you with to close out this video. After an individual finishes their Rythmia program, they're given a survey. And on that survey, they are asked, did you receive a miracle? Did you basically get what you came here for? And the data shows that out of the close to 5,000 people that have gone through the program, 94% of them report that they have received a miracle or experienced a miracle. Now, that is an incredible statistic. So now that I've graduated the program, I can see why Rythmia has a 94% miracle rating. It's absolutely phenomenal. I can't wait to go back, and I hope this video has been helpful to you, to give you a little bit of insight into what's going on at Rythmia, helps you to get to know me a little bit better, know the people that I surround myself with, and hopefully it guides you to what you're looking for in your life if you're looking for treating your emotional and physical ailments. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and listen to all the things that I've had to share. Thank you so much, and take care of yourself.
So through the process, Jay called me, come here. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go see what it is and roll with it. You know what I mean? So in the process, I learned through the ayahuasca or whatever, the things that I'm about to do, my family has been preparing me to do my whole life. I was the only dude in a whole family full of women, which was crazy. My jobs have been with, started with SWV, a singing group, TLC, Destiny's Child, now with Beyonce. I'm like, dog, can I ever get any dudes? This is not cool. Through the process of the ayahuasca and stuff, I spent every day trying to move an energy to people, right? I can move the energy of like, okay, they're done, okay, give me that. Then people are like, he's just nuts, but then people say they felt it, so it's like, okay, I'm not nuts. But to make a long story short, I appreciate everybody, you know what I mean? I'm proud that the ayahuasca is wearing off a little bit so y'all can hear me talking instead of 100 miles an hour, you know what I mean? But the thing I get out of this is everybody should take your gifts and spread them as much as you can, because the world needs people like us. You know, the world needs people that are unbiased, that have worked through their issues so they can help other people work through their issues. And I think that's the point of all of this. And now you got brothers and sisters from all over the world. So I just want to say I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much.